Is it giving Yasified steamed books? Be honest. I read Melania Trump. I read. Oh god, her name is such a mouthful. I read Melania Trump's memoir, Melania, so that you don't have to. Spoiler alert, you really don't have to. In this video, I want to break down some of the most moments from this book, and let's start with the cover and also the cover of the collector's edition. And you can see how intricately designed it is and all the references that she has pulled from, which makes a lot of sense because of how much she has bragged in this book about being a really creative person who really loves art, architecture, and design. So it is a very short book, only 150 pages, half of which, 72 pages, are just photos. So safe to say it was pretty light on the content. And yet I had to put it down a few times before I could get through it because it was so boring. So go figure. But before I get into it properly, I just want to say that, of course, I did really like this book, clearly, and I am about to goof on it in this video. But that is not to say that some of the things that she was put through by the press were right or fair in any way, particularly the leaking of her nude photographs and the tweet that called her son autistic. I mean, no matter how much you disagree with a person, that is still bullying and that is still gross, and that is not the part that I intend to goof on in this video. Personally, I've not read a lot of politicians' memoirs, so I don't really know what the general tone is in them. The only one I read was Becoming, and I couldn't get through the whole of it. But this book's tone was more like a clapback and an image fixing campaign than a real reflection on a life that is by no means uninteresting. There is a lot of content to be had. I mean, a young girl who grew up under communism in Slovenia became a successful model, immigrated to the US, married a TV star slash businessman, and then went on to become the First Lady of the United States, and much less like an immigrant who was the First Lady of the United States. And that is a more interesting life than most of us will lead, but none of that experience and knowledge and just experience really comes through in this book at all. The biggest problem that this book suffers from is chronically telling and not showing. Like, I am down on my knees, begging, tears in my eyes, please give me an example of any of the claims that you're making. The whole first half reads like a really long and really bad college application essay of a kid who doesn't know how to talk about themselves except for in long lists of adjectives that are just unsubstantiated. Okay, case in point number one. As a child, I demonstrated a strong sense of organization, orderliness, and a methodical approach in all my projects. I possessed a keen curiosity and diligent work ethic. Okay, how? This is a unique quality, I would say. Most kids are not like, I don't think you would describe them as diligent or having a good work ethic. I think children mostly do their schoolwork because they have to or because of parents' pressure. So being methodical and orderly strikes me as kind of outside of the norm of what a child would do. So tell me, how come? Like, what made you this way? And are you just born? So you're just born this way, I guess I just have to believe you. Second, as a hard worker, I was always striving for the best. I understood from a young age that studying and learning were the keys to success, and I took great pride in consistently earning good grades. Why? What made you understand this? Was there an incident? Like, how did you develop this philosophy as a young child? How? Life, of course, presented its fair share of challenges. As a child, I cherished solitude and found solace in the company of my family or in my own thoughts. I often found myself navigating the world on my own terms. What does that mean? Example? How did you navigate the world on your own terms? What is it that you did that was on your own terms? From here, we get to her going to a prestigious school in Ljubljana for industrial design, and she lives in an apartment purchased by her parents for her and her sister to attend the school. And she attends some event with her mother, and over there, she gets discovered on the street as a model and gets invited to a photo shoot. Only later does she realize that this is actually a well known photographer, and this is how she describes the day. The studio was hardly glamorous. It was located in a modest Ljubljana building and lacked all of the amenities typically found at a photo shoot, such as a makeup artist or hairstylist. So despite her apparent dissatisfaction with the setup, she started getting modeling offers. Then she entered a contest and she came in second, only because the other girl had the right connections, and she was offered a modeling contract in Milan, and this is how she describes the decision to take it up. This unexpected opportunity forced me to make a decision between pursuing a career in architecture or modeling. Despite the difficulty of the choice, I trusted my abilities and believed that I would be successful no matter which path I chose. On face value, there's nothing wrong with this really, but if you think about it, she's only 17 or 18 here, and I don't think anyone has ever said that they were sure that they will succeed no matter what path they take, let alone a teenager. Dropping out of school, she was studying to be an architect, is a really big decision, and we don't get any other discourse on why she decided to go along with it. So the tone throughout this book is her really insisting that all her achievements are all her own. She is a leader and she has gotten everything that she has achieved through like determination and like good organizational skills, and though she had great support, like it's all her own. I'm sure that's true, Mimi, but like I promise you this book is not a job interview, and you can give credit to other people. You can tell us a story of like maybe a vulnerability or a moment of indecision, but I have not come across that in this book. The only time that the everything is my own determination tone ever changes is when something goes wrong. And when something goes wrong, there is always someone to be blamed. There is always someone that disappointed her and pissed her off by being incompetent, right? And I am, of course, talking about the speech incident. So for those who don't know, Mimi was accused of plagiarism in her 2016 RNC speech when Trump was nominated as the Republican candidate. She was accused of ripping off Michelle Obama's speech. And the title of the chapter is "Why Was the Speech Not Vetted?" And that makes it seem like she's going to answer this question for us. But the titular line only comes up when she is demanding Trump why her speech was not vetted. What she tells us is that she herself brought in Michelle's speech as inspiration for her speechwriters, and they mistakenly left chunks of it inside the speech, and this was never vetted, which led to the entire drama, right? Firstly, it's very hard to believe that if she herself was inspired by this speech, she wouldn't recognize parts of it being in her speech while practicing and preparing it. Secondly, even if she's right and she was completely blindsided by her stuff and never saw it coming, and it was really an honest mistake, genuinely, of leaving some lines from an inspiration in the final piece without any intent of plagiarism, then why is her response 8 years later still so defensive and not offering us even a shred of self-awareness to maybe own up to the fact that since it is her speech, it is still going to be her who plagiarized, even if there was a staff member who has taken the fall, so to speak. Like, if it is your speech, your name is on it. So if it is an honest mistake, I mean, you can just say, well, my bad. I didn't mean anything bad by it. But sure, girl, be more defensive. It doesn't make you seem guilty at all. Another thing that she brought up in this book was a failed skincare line that she was apparently supposed to launch and never came to fruition because of some disputes with like ownership changing hands of a company, I think. But is one thing, it's funny to bring it up. It's funny to bring it up as an example of your success when it never was launched. But I think it's even funnier to include a picture of it in the photo archive. So we have evidence that she really did design this skincare brand that never came to light. She's still really upset that they didn't let her launch this skincare line, and she makes it a point to tell us that she wants to launch it in the future when the time is right. So look out for Melania skincare coming to you soon. She talks a lot about her Be Best initiative, which is her, I think, flagship initiative as a first lady, and it was mainly against cyberbullying and drug usage. And she had a meeting with some of the top executives of the biggest social media companies, and the objective was centered on the need for greater oversight of children's online activities and communication. But the response was, I was taken aback by the resistance I encountered from the tech executives. They seemed to suggest that their ability to address harmful content was limited due to concerns about free speech. I emphasized that I was not advocating for censorship, but rather for the protection of children from potentially harmful speech. Although the response from the tech companies was disappointing, I remain undeterred. And later in the page, she continues to describe how she had to change the initiative from being about getting social media companies to check the content online to just talking to parents who are concerned about cyberbullying and learn from them and offer support and solutions. I can't even describe how painfully, perfectly ironic it is that the tech companies didn't want to change their policies, even if it is for the protection of children, because it just doesn't work. You can't rely on big companies to regulate themselves. It is unimaginably funny that her initiative was stopped dead in its tracks because big companies refused to do something that they were not obligated to do. I wonder how to get them to do it. Could it be regulation? Could it? I don't know. This is obviously not even mentioning Trump's own behavior on social media. And she does have a line dedicated to this. I had anticipated some criticism in light of Donald's social media behavior, but despite the scrutiny my stance might receive, addressing this issue was a personal priority for me. He is the one spreading hate online that she is trying to protect children from. Mimi, the call is coming from inside the house. Please. Another thing that caught my attention was that she makes it a point to mention that she didn't get access to the White House before Trump's inauguration, and she wasn't able to take measurements to start planning her interior designing and how she will move into the White House. And she is unhappy with the Obamas for not giving her that access. She mentions every detail of the customs that are usually followed when she was coming in. But she doesn't mention anything about when she was the outgoing First Lady, about how she made the process easy for the next incoming First Lady. Reading online, I saw that in 2020, Trump prevented Biden from getting some communications that the president-elect is entitled to. I didn't really want to talk about hypocrisy because I know that they don't care about being hypocritical. I mean, that much is pretty clear. I couldn't not mention it though. I saw some speculation online that this book is going to diverge from Trump's views and Melania is going to make her own stances. None of that ever happens. There's one half-hearted attempt at being pro-choice where she says that she supports a woman's right to choose, but it doesn't land at all for me. Doesn't seem genuine, doesn't seem something she believes in, because she's not given us any reason to think that. Okay, so I'm gonna wrap it up here. This video idea was inspired by Uncarly and also Jack Edwards doing celebrity book series and also memoir series, and I really like those videos, and of course I really wanted to read Melania's book. So I hope that you like the video, and until then, see ya.